What name did she give as owner? My daughter-in-law looked me right in the eye and called me a guest in my own home. I didn't say a word. I just set down my coffee cup on the kitchen table. This same table I've had since 1987. And I smiled because sometimes the quietest response is the one that changes everything. I'm Eleanor. I'm 71 years old, and I live here in Savannah, Georgia, on Abercorn Street, in a house my late husband Gerald and I bought in 1981. 4 bedrooms, 2 pecan trees in the backyard, creaky third step on the staircase that Gerald always said he'd fix. He never did. I wake up most mornings around 6:15. I don't need an alarm anymore. My body just knows. I come downstairs, I run the coffee maker, the old drip kind, not one of those pod machines, and I stand by the kitchen window while it brews. The blinds are always half open. I like to watch the light come in slow over the neighbors' rooftops. It's quiet at that hour, just the fridge humming, the wall clock above the stove, the distant sound of the TV in the den. I leave it on the news channel overnight. Old habit. For years, this house was full of noise. Gerald. Then Marcus growing up. Bikes in the driveway. Screen doors slamming. Now it's just me. And I don't mind that. Most days. Marcus and his wife Diane moved in 2 years ago. They said it was temporary. Just until we get back on our feet, Mom. I said, of course. I said, this is your home too. I meant that. I made space in the closets. I bought a second coffee maker, one of those pod machines because Diane prefers them. I moved Gerald's old recliner out of the den so their sectional could fit. I told myself it was fine, but something shifted, slowly. The way seasons change here. You don't notice until one day the air is different. Diane started referring to the house differently. Our home. Not in a grateful way, in a claiming way. She rearranged the kitchen cabinets without asking. Moved Gerald's framed photo from the mantel to the hallway. I didn't say anything. I just noticed. Then came the Sunday dinner. Marcus had invited his in-laws, Diane's parents, her sister, a full table. I came downstairs, and Diane was already directing everyone, telling them where to sit, which dishes she'd make, how long they'd been in this house. I sat at the end of the table. She glanced at me and said, and I remember this clearly, she said, "Oh, Eleanor." She glanced at me and said, and I remember this clearly, she said, "Oh, Eleanor, you're fine there. You're basically just a guest anyway." She laughed. Her sister laughed. Marcus? Marcus looked at his plate. I picked up my water glass. I took a sip. I said, of course, and I smiled. That night, I sat in my bedroom, the bedroom Gerald and I shared for 31 years, and I held the old landline phone in my lap. I thought about calling Marcus. I didn't. Instead, I sat there listening to the wall clock tick, and I thought about something I hadn't thought about in a while. The days after that dinner had a pattern. Diane stopped acknowledging me at breakfast, just walked past. She started having her mother over, showing her around the house. This is what we're doing with the den. We're thinking of repainting the hallway. I heard her through the walls. We. One morning, I came downstairs at 6:15, and there was a sticky note on the coffee maker. Eleanor, we're having guests this weekend. Could you maybe stay upstairs? I read that note 3 times. Then I folded it, set it in my cardigan pocket, and I poured my coffee. I need to tell you something about this house. Gerald and I, we bought it young. We were barely 30. We scraped together every dollar. Gerald worked double shifts at the paper mill for 2 years straight to make that down payment. When Marcus was born, we brought him home to this house. We raised him in this house. When Gerald got sick, when the doctors told us what they told us, this house is where we sat together on the back porch every evening until he couldn't anymore. Gerald passed in 2019. The house was his, mine, ours. After he passed, Marcus asked if he could be added to the deed. Just for practical reasons, Mom, in case something happens to you. I told him I'd think about it. I thought I had more time to figure out what the right thing to do was. I never signed anything. Life moved on. Marcus moved in. Diane moved in. And the paperwork sat in my fireproof box in the closet, right next to Gerald's watch. About a week after the sticky note, I got a phone call. It was from a number I didn't recognize, but the area code was local. Savannah. I answered. It was a man from an HOA management company. He said Diane had contacted them about updating the owner contact information for the property. He said she described herself as the primary resident and wanted to be the main point of contact going forward. I was very calm. I'm sorry, what name did she give as owner? He paused. Then he said she hadn't specified. She just listed herself as the primary contact. I thanked him and hung up. I sat down at the kitchen table. The fridge hummed. The news played softly from the den. I looked at Gerald's pecan trees through the window, and I made a decision. I went upstairs to the closet. I opened the fireproof box. I found the original deed to 412 Abercorn Street, Savannah, Georgia. Owner, Gerald Thomas Marsh and Eleanor Ruth Marsh. No amendments, no additional names, no transfers. Then I called my attorney, Carol. She's handled my affairs for 12 years. Known her since Marcus was in high school. I told her what had been happening. The HOA call, the sticky note, the dinner. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Eleanor, do you understand what you're holding? I said I did. She said, they have no legal standing, none. I already knew that. I just needed to hear it said out loud. That evening, Marcus came to find me in my bedroom. He looked uncomfortable. He'd gotten a call from Carol. He sat on the edge of the chair near the window, Gerald's old reading chair that I moved back in quietly weeks ago. and he couldn't quite meet my eyes. "Mom, I didn't know Diane called the HOA." I said, "I know you didn't. This is still your house. We know that." I said, "Do you?" He didn't answer right away. And in that silence, that long, honest silence, I think he finally understood something. That I had let them in out of love, not obligation, not loneliness, love. And that a guest is someone who's been invited. I looked at him and I said, "You're not guests, Marcus. Neither is Diane. But I need you both to remember whose home this is and what it means that you're here." He nodded. His eyes went red at the edges. "I'm sorry, Mom." I reached over and patted his hand. "I know, baby." Nothing changed overnight. Diane was quieter after that, a little more careful. Some mornings she even poured me my coffee without being asked. It's a small thing, but small things are how trust gets rebuilt. Gerald's photo is back on the mantle now. The third step still creaks, and every morning at 6:15, I come downstairs, stand at that kitchen window, and watch the light come slow over the rooftops on Abercorn Street. This is my home. It always was. I just let them forget for a little while. I won't make that mistake again. If this story hit you even a little, don't scroll. Just tap like. It helps this reach the people who need it most. And tell me in the comments, have you ever felt like a guest in your own home? I read every single one. Let's see if we can cross 200 together. If you're new here, subscribe. We're building something real, almost at 1,000 strong.